feel this for a moment. There's a subtle tremor running through your chest right now that wasn't present 10 minutes ago. And it's not anxiety or excitement. It's your quantum field recognizing its own signature. Today, a distinct window of opportunity opens, one that won't reappear in this specific configuration. And what you're about to uncover isn't new information. It's the deepest, oldest memory residing within you. If this reaches you at precisely this instant, it wasn't your algorithm that brought it. Your future self broadcasted a signal across time, indicating that the moment to recall your true identity has arrived. And while your rational mind scrambles for a logical reason to be here, your body has already begun to prepare for the crossing. Notice how your breathing has subtly shifted since you started taking in these words. That minute irregularity in your respiratory rhythm is no accident. It's the frequency key activating, because every cell in your being holds the memory of your original identity. And today, that memory stirs. The quantum technique you're about to engage with doesn't operate like others you might know. It doesn't ask you to learn anything, because learning implies acquiring external information, and what you need is already nested deep inside. What unfolds is a process of inverse recognition. Instead of actively searching for who you are, you will permit the you you've always been to find you. Herein lies the first paradox your analytical mind needs to grapple with. How can something you've forgotten be more present than everything you recall? The answer lies in how consciousness configures memory. Your brain stores linear data, facts, names, occurrences, but your quantum field upholds your essential signature beyond the confines of time. This signature isn't stored, it's recognized. When two identical frequencies meet, they don't simply add up. They resonate, and resonance requires no effort, only alignment. As you listen, your body is executing imperceptible micro-adjustments. Focus on the sensation in your palms. You might notice a faint tingling or a virtually undetectable thermal alteration. This indicates your nervous system has entered receptive mode. In ancient traditions, which grasped these principles without explicitly naming them, there was talk of remembering the primordial covenant, of returning to the secret name. All these metaphors pointed to an operative truth. Your authentic identity isn't constructed through experiences. It's unveiled when you cease interfering with it. You recognize what has always been here, not because you are inherently special, but because we all carry the identical quantum signature of origin. However, very few receive a direct invitation to activate it at a specific juncture. For you, that juncture is today. The temporal window I spoke of isn't a metaphor or a sales urgency. It's synchronicity's geometry. There are specific days when your personal field aligns with broader collective currents, and when this happens, what would typically demand significant effort to shift becomes readily available. The practice transforms from a struggle into an effortless experience. Today is one such day for you, and the proof is that you've arrived here without actively seeking it. Your future self, having already crossed this threshold, comprehends the topography of your timeline and knows precisely when you're prepared to receive this. It's not magic, it's inverted causal coherence. From their perspective, they've already chosen to remember, and that choice propagated a wave that couldn't be ignored. The technique involves 3 invisible movements that demand no external actions, only internal focus. First movement. Locate the precise point in your body where you sense your name, not the name bestowed upon you by others, but the name that was inherent from your origin. Resides. For most, this point lies between the center of the chest and the throat, like a silent node beating with an intrinsic rhythm. Don't force the search. If you quiet your mind for 3 seconds, the point will reveal itself because it already knows you. Second movement. Once that node is located, observe its frequency. Every identity possesses a unique pulse, an imperceptible cadence that orchestrates everything else. If you manage to perceive it, even for a fleeting moment, you'll notice it doesn't align with your heart rate or your breathing. It's slower, deeper, almost geological. This is the rhythm of your quantum field at rest. Third movement. Allow that rhythm to remind you. Resist the urge to memorize or control it. Simply acknowledge it as yours. The instant you recognize it, the frequency key turns, and what was encrypted begins to decipher itself effortlessly. What exactly is being deciphered? Here, the paradox deepens. It's not about childhood memories or past lives. It's the intrinsic certainty of which choices align with your authentic self and which were always mere distractions. When your inner field remembers your true essence, decision-making becomes dramatically simplified. Because suddenly, you possess an unusual clarity regarding which paths are genuinely yours and which belong to others. This isn't due to external influence, but rather because your body naturally repels what is inauthentic, much like it rejects toxic food. This practical indicator signals the initiation of the process. You effortlessly release what you once defended out of habit, relationships, jobs, beliefs, borrowed identities. Everything that doesn't resonate with your original signature becomes untenable. And remarkably, it doesn't cause pain. It simply dissolves because it was never truly yours. If you're experiencing this now, if something within you confirms that these words aren't mere theories, but a precise description of your current reality, then the field is recognizing you in return. And if that's the case, I need you to do something incredibly simple, yet profoundly powerful. Go to the comments and type exactly this. I no longer seek. Now I remember. This isn't a symbolic exercise. It's a public anchor. When you declare, even in writing, that you've crossed a threshold, your nervous system registers this choice as irreversible. By making it visible to others who are also remembering, you connect with the collective field of those who have already activated their key. Comment now. Quote 1. Do it before your rational mind convinces you it's unnecessary. Because that subtle resistance, that voice whispering, "I'll do it later," is the old pattern's final attempt to keep you in an eternal search. But you are no longer searching. You are remembering. Let's continue. There's something crucial you need to grasp about the nature of this quantum recollection, where science and mysticism converge without conflict. In quantum physics, there's a documented phenomenon known as entanglement. two particles that were once connected remain correlated regardless of distance, so measuring one instantly affects the state of the other. Your original identity and your present self are connected, entangled in the same way. It doesn't matter how many layers of conditioning, trauma, or constructed personality you've accumulated. The essential signature never disconnected. It merely ceased to be observable because you stopped looking. This technique reestablishes that observation. When you consciously direct your attention to that internal node you previously located, it shifts the field of possibilities and updates your present state to coherence with your origin. This isn't regression, it's an update. Ancient sages understood this without the language of physics. Hermetic traditions spoke of knowing your true name as the supreme act of power. Initiatic schools taught that speaking that name, even silently, reorganized destiny. What all these lines of knowledge shared was the understanding that identity isn't a narrative, but a frequency, and a frequency, once recognized, cannot be forgotten. You can ignore it, you can obscure it with noise, but its pulse remains constant beneath everything. You recognize what was always present, and when you do, your external reality begins to reorder itself to reflect this, not because you change the world, but because you stop upholding versions of yourself that generated false realities. Now, pay close attention to this. In the coming days, you will receive confirmations. They won't be spectacular or obvious. They will be subtle and precise. Someone will say something that seems coincidental, but will resonate exactly with what you need. You'll encounter an object, a message, an image that echoes your own frequency. These aren't random synchronicities. They are signals from your future self, confirming that you made the correct choice today. Because from its timeline, it already lives in full coherence, and that coherence propagates backward, which you perceive as luck or coincidence. But they are not. They are the intricate architecture of a quantum field, reorganizing itself when someone within it remembers who they are. And you have just remembered. Here comes the second, more profound revelation. You're not just remembering who you are. You're remembering why you chose to forget. Because forgetting wasn't an accident or a punishment. It was part of the design. For the essential identity to become operational in a dense field like this world, it needs the contrast of oblivion. If you had been born knowing who you are, recognition would lack power. But by forgetting and then remembering, you generate emotional and energetic charge so potent that it literally reprograms your nervous system. It's like resetting an instrument to its original tuning after it has gone flat. It's akin to a child's organism, one that age cannot diminish. The physique perceives this adjustment as solace, as an arrival, as a finality. And this sensation isn't an illusion. It's your physiology affirming that you've returned home. So, the question isn't, why did I forget? But rather, what action do I take now that I recall? The answer, surprisingly, is straightforward. Nothing. Simply cease all activity. You acknowledge what has always been present and permit it to reconfigure everything else. You don't need to compel transformations, dramatically abandon anything, or declare internal insurrections. You merely need to sustain your awareness of your intrinsic frequency, and it will manage the remainder. It's like illuminating a dark room. You don't fight the darkness, you just maintain the light. And this light, in this context, is conscious attention directed toward that inner nexus you discovered. Each time you return to it, even for a fleeting second, you strengthen the frequency key. With each reinforcement, anything that doesn't align with you naturally diminishes. Now, why is today distinct? Why is this temporal window exceptional? Why is your personal field particularly receptive today? Because your personal energetic field undergoes phases of openness and closure. Today, you find yourself at a peak of receptivity. You might not perceive it as extraordinary. This day might seem mundane. However, at a quantum level, the conditions are perfectly aligned. Your nervous system is less guarded than usual. Your rational mind is temporarily more quiescent, and your emotional field has created a space for deep listening. These three conditions aligning simultaneously is a rare occurrence. When they do, what would typically bounce off your protective layers can penetrate directly to your core. This is why this message reached you today, not a month ago or 6 months from now. Time isn't linear in the quantum realm. It's topological, with peaks and valleys. Today, you are on a peak. Seize it. Let me briefly offer a perspective on time. What is the optimal moment for time to unfold? There are 3 key principles that are fundamental to this. First, to reach a mental breakthrough. I will now give you the practical key that completes the cycle. For the next 7 days, every morning, before your mind becomes cluttered with tasks and distractions, do this. Locate that internal core again, that point where your I am exists beyond words. Observe it for 3 full breaths. Don't meditate, don't visualize, don't affirm anything. Just observe its pulse. By the 3rd breath, you will notice the pulse stabilize, as if settling deeper. This settling is your daily anchor, and each time you do it, your quantum field remembers a little more who you truly are, and forgets a little more who you believed yourself to be. By the 7th day, the process will be so ingrained that you won't need to consciously initiate it. It will become automatic. By the 6th day, your entire system will have adopted your original frequency as its new operational foundation. From this point, everything transforms, not abruptly, but from its very root. Now, I want you to notice something. Since you started listening to this, how many times did you want to pause, get distracted, or do something else? That resistance isn't boredom. It's the old, ingrained system vehemently attempting to keep you in the familiar. Because remembering who you are necessitates letting go of who you thought you were, and that constructed identity fights for its survival. Don't judge it. Simply acknowledge it. Each time you perceive this resistance and opt to remain present, you are choosing remembrance over oblivion. And this choice, reiterated moment after moment, is what irreversibly activates the frequency key. Here, your field reorders itself, not because I instruct you to, but because you are allowing it. There's another phenomenon you need to grasp, one that differentiates those who truly cross the threshold from those who merely theorize about crossing it. When your field begins to recall your authentic self, the people around you react, not always consciously, but they react. Why? because your emerging frequency subtly shifts the dynamics. Some individuals will be inexplicably drawn to you, as if they recognize something within you that they, too, are seeking. Others will drift away without apparent reason, because your new vibration no longer resonates with theirs. This isn't judgment or rejection, it's quantum coherence in action. Fields vibrating at similar frequencies attract, while those at opposing frequencies repel. You cannot force resonance, because your true self ultimately influences your interactions. You need to access its logic effortlessly, like a button. Here, sustained connection to your authentic self is the most crucial choice at this crossroads. Staff breakdown and emotional distress, coupled with declining overall interest. There should have been 3 key elements discovered about the power to absorb humans. Thursday, February 15th, 128. These 3 critical items should have been uncovered from Giftwater tasks and texts. Mark Kennard was observed as an active participant while leading 2 such endeavors. If you've made it this far without pausing, it's because something within you recognizes this isn't merely content. It's a transmission. A transmission operates differently from information. Information is processed mentally, but a transmission is absorbed by your energetic field. So, it genuinely doesn't matter if your rational mind scrutinizes every word you hear. What matters is your field is soaking up the underlying frequency, and that frequency is already at work, reorganizing patterns, updating codes, and deactivating outdated programs. You don't need to do anything beyond allowing it, because allowance is the most potent action in a quantum field. It's not passivity, it's intelligent surrender. It's telling your inner system, I trust what I am more than what I believe myself to be. And that silent, internal declaration, however unspoken, holds the power to move mountains. I'm about to reveal something rarely spoken aloud. Remembering who you truly are doesn't instantly make you happier. Initially, it might even cause discomfort, as you expose how much of your life was constructed upon convenient falsehoods. You'll uncover numerous decisions made to please, to fit in, to merely survive, rather than to genuinely be. This uncovering can be painful, but the pain is fleeting, and what follows is enduring liberation. Because once you perceive the lie, you can't genuinely believe it anymore. And once you cease believing it, you cease fueling it. What isn't fed eventually dissolves. You then progress through a period of purification, shedding jobs you loathed, people who drained your energy, and habits that numbed you. This letting go might feel like a loss, but it's actually a profound gain, as you're creating space for what truly resonates with you. And what resonates with you will arrive swiftly, because it was merely awaiting that space. Herein lies the paradox your mind needs to reconcile. You can remain precisely where you are. You can close this right now, return to your life, and persist in believing you aren't more than you've been. There's no judgment in that. Many choose the familiar, even if it brings discomfort, because the unknown often seems more terrifying than familiar pain. However, if you opt to stay, you'll observe something crucial. This message has already activated a specific frequency key within you. You cannot deactivate it. You can attempt to ignore it, but you cannot erase it. And with each passing day, That key will whisper louder, relentlessly reminding you of who you are until, perhaps months or even years from now, you can no longer ignore it and eventually return to this very threshold. Or you can cross it now. You can choose to remember today and bypass years of futile searching, because the search never concludes when you're simply seeking. It only ends when you remember, and you've already begun that process. The question isn't if you will cross, but when, and your future self, the one who has already crossed, is unequivocally telling you the time is now. So, step across, not with a dramatic gesture, but with a quiet, internal decision. Choose to recollect. Choose to release the constructed identity and embrace your essential self. Choose to trust your energetic field more than your apprehension. And if you require one final impulse, here it is. At this precise moment, as you absorb these words, your future self is with you. This isn't a metaphor, it's temporal topology. That future self already experiences what you are on the brink of experiencing. From their vantage point, you have already made your choice. The decision has already materialized. All that remains is for your present self to affirm it. And that affirmation manifests as an inexplicable certainty, a profound sense of, I already know what's next. If you feel it, don't question it. Simply follow it. Now, I want to ask you to do one more thing. If this message genuinely resonated, if something within you shifted, even if you can't yet articulate it, subscribe to remain connected to this frequency. Because what just transpired here isn't just another video, it's a pivotal turning point. And turning points require ongoing support. You require consistent reminders of who you are, because the entire world is configured to make you forget. If you subscribe, each new message will serve as such a reminder. This isn't about dependence, it's about coherence. It's about enveloping yourself in frequencies that fortify your remembrance instead of diluting it. And if you know someone else who also needs to remember, someone you sense is ready for this transmission, please share this with them, not because I need broader reach, but because you need community, and you need to connect with others who are also remembering, because the collective field strengthens when more individuals vibrate at the same frequency. Share this transmission with anyone who needs to awaken. Do it as an act of mutual recognition. I'll conclude with an image that encapsulates everything. Imagine for a moment that your life is a musical instrument. Since your birth, that instrument has been played by various individuals. What you aspire to is for your life to embody a musical instrument. From the moment you were born, this instrument was played by more than just one individual. If you seek to connect with someone equally prepared to help you realize this, you're essentially aiming for your existence to resonate like a musical piece. This intertwining connection, forged from birth, remains an unbroken, unseen thread linking your present to your future, and my present to yours. Each time you revisit that inner core, each time you pinpoint your fundamental frequency, you activate this thread. It will unfailingly guide you back to your true self, until remembering who you are becomes effortless, becoming your natural state. From now on, you won't chase, you'll allow. You won't search for who you are. You'll recall. You won't try to change. You'll align. In this alignment, everything else naturally falls into place. The elements that seemed incompatible suddenly fit. The questions that appeared unanswerable abruptly become irrelevant. The life that felt complex suddenly simplifies. This is because when you resonate at your primal frequency, only what is congruent remains. Everything else dissipates, and you observe its dissolution without clinging, understanding that what departs was never truly yours, and what arrives always was. When this visual fades, when silence returns, the frequency doesn't leave you. You depart with it. You are now the conscious bearer of your own quantum key, a key that unlocks doors you never knew existed. These are gateways to versions of yourself that awaited your remembrance to materialize, doors to realities accessible only from your original frequency. And each time you pass through one of these doors, your future self smiles, recognizing you won't stay stagnant in your life. You are arriving, becoming the person you always were, and that is all that truly matters. Share this message with anyone who resonates with it. And remember, you no longer search. You now remember, and in that remembrance, everything transforms.